Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the DBE Edge Training webinar. My name is Mike Fitch with the Ohio LTAP Center here at ODOT, and we appreciate your participation. As we get started, please take a moment to locate the questions box in the GoToWebinar panel. During the presentation today, please use the questions box to send in any questions you might have. With that, we will go ahead and turn things over to Julita Stoltz. Hello.
Hi, thank you, Mike. Hello, everyone. As Mike said, I'm Julita Stoltz. I am the Southwest Ohio Outreach Manager for the Ohio Department of Transportation, and I'm here today to give a training on the update to the DBE Edge Development Goal Program. I work with the Division of Opportunity, Diversity, and Inclusion. We took the lead on the update of the program since our division pretty much covers all things DBE and certification. In the Division of Opportunity, Diversity, and Inclusion, if you're not familiar, we have three offices. First, we have the Office of Business and Economic Opportunity, led by Deborah Green. They do all the DBE and SBE certification, DBE reporting, goal setting, supportive services, on-the-job training, and currently hold the ADA section as well. We also have the Office of Contractor Compliance, led by Katie LaPlace. They cover prevailing wage, certified payroll, commercial useful function, Title VI, essentially making sure our certified firms are paid correctly and that all the rules and regulations are followed on projects. And lastly is the Office of Outreach, which is where my position falls. Deborah Green is actually our acting administrator at the time. And we're essentially a statewide regional district resource to companies that are small or certified as a DBE, MB, or EDGE. We consider ourselves a liaison to the business community, helping in all things related to doing business with ODOT, as well as certification. And more recently, we have started working more in the workforce diversity and inclusion space. This map shows our outreach regions, and as an outreach manager, we will be your main contact for questions on the development goal program. As you can see, I'm down in District 7, 8, and 9 at the bottom of the screen, covering the Dayton, Cincinnati, Chillicothe region. We have Lisa Washington. She's up in District 1, 2, and 3. And then Lynn Stevens is our Central Ohio Outreach Manager, covering 5, 6, and 10. But she is also currently acting as the Northeast Ohio Outreach Manager. We will be eventually replacing the position that is vacant, but for now, she can be your contact if you have questions in that region, or of course, you can reach out to any of us. Before we really get started into the updates, just to make sure that everyone knows what the DBE program is, what the EDGE program is, I wanted just to give a little bit of background information. So the disadvantaged business enterprise is what we're referring to when we say DBE, and the encouraging diversity, growth, and equity is the EDGE program that we always refer to as EDGE. And these are certification programs for businesses that are owned and managed by socially and economically disadvantaged individuals. The DBE program is administered by ODOT. However, the EDGE program is administered by the Department of Administrative Services, DAS, but they are soon moving over to the Development Service Agency. I'm not going to go into too many details on what it takes to be qualified, but a DBE is when the presumed owner is socially, sorry, got a little tongue-tied there. The 51% owner has to be socially and economically disadvantaged, and the presumed socially and economically disadvantaged owner must manage and control the firm. Socially and economically disadvantaged is just kind of like terminology that is used in the regulation. Essentially, there are several categories in which a person could be presumed disadvantaged, including women and minority groups. You can also qualify for the program if you are socially disadvantaged and you're not in one of the presumed groups, but you can prove that you faced discrimination and inequality in access to contracts, to education, finance, and things of that nature. The company has to be a small business, and that is defined by SBA standards. However, we do have a 3-year average annual gross receipts, including affiliates, that cannot exceed 23.98 million. There are some NAICS codes under the SBA that are lower and have a lower cap than the 23.98 million. For example, engineering caps at 16.5 average over 3 years. The socially and economically disadvantaged owner has to have a personal net worth less than 1.32 million, excluding primary residence and equity in business. And of course, the DBE firm has to be an independent business. As for EDGE, a business may qualify for EDGE if the owner is both socially and economically disadvantaged, or the business is located in a qualified census tract and the owner is economically disadvantaged. And of course, that economic disadvantage comes from looking at their personal net worth, in which it cannot exceed $750,000 for this program. The fair market value of assets has to be less than $4 million, and the firm has to have been in business for at least 1 year prior to applying. And that 1-year rule is not applicable to DBE, so that is one of the differences. So just a little bit of background on how the Development Goal Program started. In 2015, a group of employees from ODOT went around the state conducting town halls, meeting with the different industries of certified firms just to hear their concerns and get feedback. Out of that town hall, they formed a small business committee for consultant services. And it was that small business committee that came up with the idea of the Development Goal Program and came up with the various rules that apply to that. And we had our first Development Goal Program or project actually in September of 2015. And since then, we've had approximately 70 projects that have had a development goal on them. So since several years have passed now, we really wanted to reevaluate the program, and we did come up with some changes that we're implementing in order to ensure that we're getting the desired outcomes of the program. We are providing training like we're here talking to you today to ensure that we have understanding across the districts as well as the industry, because we do plan for these changes to take place with the September programmatic. When conducting the review, we pulled all the data from awarded projects that had a development goal and analyzed that. We also did a survey to primes and DBE EDGE certified firms that had participated in a project that had a development goal. And of course, we compiled some feedback that we had internally from different, various things that we saw. Out of the review of the program, these are kind of the notes of discussion and things we looked a little bit further at. There was the overutilization of the same DBE or EDGE firms on multiple projects, the development criteria and methodology for scoring, reporting, the funding associated with development, and the types of projects. So when we started this analysis, we had created a small working group and an updated small business committee. And while talking through some of these things, we came to the conclusion that both growing established firms and allowing opportunities for new firms are valuable goals of the program. We do need to figure out ways to help incorporate new companies into the program. So we decided that we would kind of use our verbiage and our scoring, create an FAQ document, and use these trainings to help encourage the utilization of new firms. I think it's really important to point out that primes are not penalized for bringing on a new firm that the districts are not familiar with. That is one very important part of the program. but we do recognize that some of our more established firms can still benefit from the program. We are going to use tracking and reporting to ensure that firms are making progress and not duplicating training on information that they're already proficient with. We didn't make any changes to the number of points. It is still going to be worth 5. We're still asking for a 1-page description describing the expected outcomes of the efforts of the consultant and the certified sub-consultant to assist that certified firm in achieving the goal of eventual self-sufficiency. This is our kind of current scoring criteria. We have been asking to show that the firm is being developed on improving long-term development, increasing ability to participate in a variety kind of work, including pre-qualification in new categories, and handle increasingly significant projects, developing capability to utilize emerging technology and conduct business through electronic media, and achieving self-sufficiency. From that, we decided to remove the category achieving self-sufficiency from the scoring criteria and note that as the overarching goal of the program, so it won't be scored separately anymore. Essentially, the development goal program is there to help firms achieve self-sufficiency. We want to see firms grow, hopefully eventually graduate out of the program, win more work as a prime, and that's kind of what we see self-sufficiency as. We also wanted to further define the criteria with a couple of examples, and we also adjusted the scoring methodology instead of increasing points, and I'll get to that in just a second. This is our updated language, the language in which you will be scored in the September programmatic. We're asking that the description clearly address each of the following topics. So we kept improving long-term development, but we added the language by providing exposure and training to the firm in areas that will assist them in being better able to compete as a sub or prime consultant. This may include trainings on ODOT processes and procedures, or improving internal business practices. I think some of the feedback we got from the survey was that time spent with the prime on learning the various aspects of their business was some of the most valuable training that they did receive. So we definitely want to continue to encourage that. We kept the second category the same, increasing their ability to participate in a variety kind of work, including pre-qualification in new categories and the ability to handle increasingly significant projects. That one we thought was, pretty straightforward. But for the last category, we did update the language just slightly to say developing capability to utilize emerging technology, which may include navigating ODOT allocated software, industry recognized software, or conducting business through electronic media. So as I mentioned, we did update the scoring methodology. We are now asking for 5 points that the expected outcome and plan for achieving them will provide the certified firm an opportunity to significantly improve in all 3 objectives, which support the overall purpose of assisting firms achieve self-sufficiency. One of the major changes is that now we're looking at measurable. So we're asking that to get a 5 points, that the improvement be measurable in at least 2 of the 3 objectives and clearly defined in the letter of interest. We are essentially putting it on the prime and the certified firm to tell ODOT how we're going to be able to measure that those objectives were met. But I will be giving you some examples in upcoming slides to help point you in the right direction. For 4 points, we're now asking that you show the firm will significantly improve still in all 3 objectives listed, but the improvement has to be measurable and clearly defined for at least 1 of the objectives. We did not change the scoring for 3 points, 2 points, or 1 point. 3 points is still that the expected outcome and plan for achieving them will provide an opportunity for the certified firm to significantly improve in at least 2 objectives. For 2 points, you're going to show that they are going to significantly improve in one objective. And then for 1 point, basically you just provided workload for the DBE or EDGE certified firm. So what does a good approach look like? What will help you get to those 5 points? First of all, we do want to point out that the project approach should not be continued onto the development goal extra page that you receive. You should only include information relevant to the development goal there. We do ask that each scoring category be addressed individually to help make it clear that you did talk about all 3 of the objectives. You want to ensure that you're clear on the activities of each area for scoring. And we do also recommend that you only develop 1 certified firm per project. That way, you're more likely to see a more significant impact. So now I'm going to talk about significant improvement. What does it mean to significantly improve? We are unable to give you a firm definition on what significantly improved means because it can differ from firm to firm. But essentially, we're looking to see that the improvement will have an impact on the firm's ability to grow and succeed. And kind of an example of that would be that the certified firm can complete a consultant process with oversight from the prime, which will then allow them to repeat the process independently. What is not significant? I mean, pretty straightforward. It's not impactful on a firm's growth or success, or they're only learning an insignificant skill. And I just want to say it again, what's considered significant for a new firm may not be considered significant for an experienced firm. Here are just some examples of items of significance that we've seen in other LOIs. Providing the guidance to lead to the development of the firm's use of the SAFE system, ODOT invoicing forms, ELA system, SharePoint, project management skills like project scheduling, the plan development process, being able to show increased proficiency with utilization of things such as ODOT's TIM system, OpenRoads Designer per the latest standards created by ODOT's CAD Mapping Division, MicroStation, and additionally back office assistance like accounting systems, HR systems, payroll systems, and those types of business development activities. When it comes to measurable, it can be quantitative or qualitative, but keep in mind the LOI must include specifics on how ODOT will be able to review and determine successful completion of goals. I'm going to provide a few examples for all 3 criteria. First, here are some examples of improving long-term development. Perhaps the DBE or EDGE firm is being mentored on how to write a successful letter of interest. One way we can measure that is the firm will submit at least 1 letter of interest in a future programmatic within a year. It could be 2 or 3 LOIs, whatever, but that's something that we can track and see that it happened. If the firm is being mentored on marketing their company to ODOT to measure success, the firm will have developed proper marketing materials and carried out meet and greets with 3 district offices by the end of the project. Feedback will be obtained from district staff, documented, and implemented for future marketing. Here are some examples for pre-qualification or the ability to handle increasingly significant projects. The one that's most straightforward is that the firm will apply or have received pre-qualification by the end of the project. But we recognize that it's not always, the firm might not be capable of getting to that pre-qualification with just 1 project. So another example would be that the firm's not ready to apply for pre-qualification, but they will obtain experience designing 2 single-span concrete slab bridges, which will count toward the 3 needed for pre-qualification. Another example that may not necessarily include pre-qualification, but would help the firm handle increasingly significant projects would be that the certified firm has never held a task order contract. So they go into the contract as a prime with the company performing the development as one of their subs. It says prime, but what we mean basically is the majority firm, the one that's developing. The company monitors, mentors, and advises them through the life of the task order. And the DBE Edge firm successfully completes the project management aspects by project end. As for the last category, which is focused around technology, it is stated a member of the certified firm will train another staff member on a software with minimum oversight from the prime consultant after receiving their initial training, which would be documented in the final development goal report. So if you're able to teach somebody how to use a software, then they can go teach additional staff. That would definitely be a significant improvement and measurable. Another more qualitative is that the staff affirms that they feel proficient in the software and that no additional training would be needed. So those are the examples about the scoring methodology. Now for project selection, we decided that general engineering service task orders are not going to be considered for development goals, but specialized task orders can still be considered good candidates for the development goals. The general engineering are just too general to be able to create a good, strong plan and be able to carry it out. There are just way too many unknowns to be able to be successful that way. We are also at this time not really looking at construction inspection task orders or projects for a development goal. We do want to encourage firms to utilize the ODOT intern program to train inspectors. At this time, the funding structure is remaining the same for fees that for the agreement that are less than $150,000, you will receive up to $7,500. For $150,000 through $300,000, it is 5% of the total estimated fee, and for greater than $300,000, it will remain $15,000. We do want to reevaluate this once we have more firm data that's collected. We've had varying feedback. We know that many primes are putting forth a lot of effort and going above that $15,000 mark in their time, but we've also had others who have approached us because the money's still there and are there unique ways that they can use it. So hopefully with our reporting, we'll be able to better measure that, and with the feedback from the primes throughout the life of the project and the subs as well. It is important to reiterate that the development goal fee is there for training and assistance for the time spent on development task. It is not for work on the project. And then one new update is that the anticipated use of development goal funds will be required with the new initial documentation that I will talk about here in just a minute. So those were kind of the updates, but one of the more, I guess the bigger changes to the program are going to be the reporting requirements. I'll just give a little overview of what the reporting workflow is going to be like and show you some screenshots and go over the different reports that we will be requiring. We will have a standard template now that everyone will use, and we will be collecting the same data for all the projects. But just to start out, the regional outreach manager and the district staff are going to work together to monitor progress, with the primary responsibility being on the regional outreach manager within the districts. To start off, the outreach manager or the district will attend the scope meeting and provide the prime and the sub the overview of all the requirements. As I mentioned a minute ago, there is an initial development goal report now due before the contract is signed, and it will be included as part of the contract documents. And the outreach manager and district staff will review that together, including the fee proposal. This is what the initial plan looks like. To start out, we're just asking for the scope of work for the certified firm. So just some background information. Have you worked with this sub previously? Have you developed this firm on a past project? And if so, what project and what was accomplished? It just gives us a good starting point. We also ask on the first page if you're currently teaming with a certified firm on other projects, and if you are, who is the owner and will this work aid in pre-qualification? The second page is where we're asking for anticipated utilization of development funds. You're not going to be held to the sin here, but generally, how much money do you plan to devote to business development trainings? How much do you plan to devote to computer software trainings? Are there other things that you plan to be doing with the money? Just to give us an idea on how that will be spent. We also are including a section about special requests. Special requests for the use of the money cannot always be honored, but we may take it into consideration. But we do ask that you make those special requests on this form at the beginning of the project, including the dollar amount and the justification. So while the money is there primarily to be spent for time, there may be unique circumstances or unique uses of the money that we will take on a case-by-case basis. And then on page 3 of that initial plan that will be put together is just an anticipated development goal activity schedule. It's broken down by each category, improving long-term development, and the other 2 categories will have their own chart. We're asking activity and time frame. Time frame can be pretty general. It's just a general schedule to help us monitor and to help you keep on track. Can you hear me? It said my audio connection was lost.
Hi, you sound good.
Okay, yeah, it popped up and said it was lost, so hopefully you didn't miss what I was saying.
Nope, all good.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, so I was just saying that it'll help keep you on track as well to ensure that all the objectives are met by the end of the project. So that was the initial plan. Initially, we're asking if a kickoff meeting is planned between the prime and sub, that you either invite the outreach manager or you share some meeting minutes. That also helps us understand the starting point of the relationship between your firm and where the company is and kind of what they're looking to achieve through the development goal. We are now requesting quarterly reporting from the start of the project, which includes both past activities and planned activities for the next quarter. The quarters are on a set schedule starting in January 10th, and it'll be due on the 10th day of the next quarter. So January, April, July, October. Those reports will be due to the project manager and the outreach manager. I'm going to show you what those look like and talk you through those now. So we're asking for the billing period, the total amount invoiced, the billing cycle in between these reporting, the total that's been invoiced for the project, and then any non-salary direct costs this billing cycle, and to explain if there has been any. Typically there should not be any since, as I mentioned, unless you have made a special request, it is primarily, for the time that you're spending. We have a couple charts. It'll say mentoring progress. This will say since last report. I just wasn't able to change it because it's a screenshot, but it is updated on the documents. And we break it down by each category, what activities have taken place since you last invoiced us. Is there anything else that you would like to include? And then just briefly, what are your anticipated development activities within the next quarter? We are also asking on the second page if there are any concerns or issues at this time, like outstanding invoices not paid to the certified firm, and if there are any outstanding payments, when will that be made and what's the reason for delay? The third page, we ask if the certified firm has reviewed the document, and then any feedback that the firm that's being developed has on their progress or even the program. We did not create a separate report for the final report just to make it easy. Once you are completely done with your developing, all the money's been spent, and you are finished doing any more mentoring that you plan to do, you will just circle yes, and then give us a short summary of accomplishments. And each report, we do ask for the prime and the DBE to sign off on that, so that we know for sure that everyone's reviewed the information. So as we review the reporting, if we have any questions or we find that there's any issues, we will meet with both the prime and the sub to help resolve that. Additionally, during each stage submission, while the district project manager is reviewing the work of the prime, we're also asking that they look a little bit more closely at the work provided by the sub and share with the outreach manager any comments or if they found any red flags for the certified firm, so that we can work together to see what improvements need to be made so that they're successful in the project. After tracing submissions, the outreach manager is going to meet with the team again for a final development goal report review. Essentially, it's going to be like an interview, what went good, what went bad, what was accomplished. We are creating a standard template for these, but of course, some questions will be customized because not everyone's going to be developed on the same items. We do want to point out that this review is not going to be connected to your CES score. This is purely for reporting purposes. Then the outreach manager, of course, is responsible for filing these quarterly reports and keeping them in a centralized drive. Additionally, the Division of Opportunity, Diversity, Inclusion is currently working on a solution for long-term tracking of success by firm, so that we're not looking at this on a project by project basis, but looking at the growth of the firm as a whole. So, how many development projects have you been on? Have you actually reached your goals? Are you now getting more work? We want to try to tell the full story. At this time, I will take any questions that you may have. Hopefully you have a few for me.
All right, and the questions box is open.
And while you're typing in your questions, this PowerPoint is available for download. This is our contact information to the Office of Outreach. We are here to answer any questions that you may have, whether it be now or right before the September programmatic, or once you've been awarded a project. We're always here to help. And I also, while you're coming up with your questions, wanted to mention a new monthly update from our division. If you click the link in the presentation, it'll take you to the outreach page. And in the middle of the page, you can sign up for a listserv where you can get a monthly update from our entire division on different events that are happening in your region, if there are any changes within the DBE program, contractor compliance, supportive services. That will all be in one tidy newsletter. It comes out the first Wednesday of every month, so we would definitely encourage both the industry and certified firms to get on that list. Any questions?
Okay, so we do have a question from Francis, who says, I am still a little confused about the long-term development goals, parentheses, marketing, LOIs, writing, etc. How do we tie it to the project in the LOI?
Okay, that's a good question. It does not necessarily have to be tied to the project. We are very open on developing the company as a whole. So we know that not everything will be directly tied back to the project, but that you as a prime have a lot to offer a small company. and they may be struggling in an area within their business that you can provide that advice and support on. Some things may be tied to ODOT, like they don't know how to do invoicing, they don't understand our processes. That all is included in long-term development as well. So it may not be something that you're working directly on with the project, but it's something that you can help them through understanding.
Okay, next question might be a little bit similar. This is from Gary. He said, in the past, we've always assumed the DBE development must be related to the project. However, some of the examples, such as website development, marketing, are completely unrelated to the project. Is this really the intent? And if so, why is the program even tied to an individual project each round?
So a lot of the aspects can be directly tied to the project, of course. Like we're really wanting you to help firms, get pre-qualified and learn the ODOT way. But I think some firms that are maybe a little bit more experienced, they may already know how to do the invoicing and things like that, but they're still working on a pre-qualification. And there are things that you can offer them in addition to the project. So there still should be some sort of connection to the project, of course, because one of the categories is obtaining, either a new pre-qualification or more significant work. Technology, of course, is likely going to be directly related to the project. You're probably going to be teaching them how to use a software that's on the project. Long-term development is just a category where you have a little bit more flexibility if they may need something outside of the ODOT processes.
Okay, we have a follow-up question from Francis. This is a follow-up from the first
Okay.
question. Can they be done prior to the LOI submittal?
It depends. I would say for the most part, it's going to occur after the project has started because you are invoicing for your time. But let's say that you were helping a company write an LOI and they were the prime on the project and you were coming in as a sub. I think it would be nice to see that you helped them through the process of submitting that. But for the most part, I think it would take place once you've actually been awarded so that you can be, compensated for your time.
Okay, next question is from Melinda, which is, what are the best resources for firms considering seeking DBE Edge certification?
Of course, you can reach out to your regional outreach manager. We're happy to walk you through the DBE certification, get you contacts for the EDGE certification. We are familiar with the programs, we just don't do the certification. So we can even meet with you to go over your DBE application, walk you through the website, any of those things. And I'll put the contact information back up on the screen in case you want to jot that down.
All right, thank you. Question from Andera. Do you or don't have to have the right NACIS codes for the training with a prime?
For the development goal, you do not. For if there's an actual goal on the project, you would be. So with the development goal, the difference is we're saying the firm has to be essentially mentored. When we have a goal on the project, you're counting toward, you're doing work and you're counting toward an actual goal. Basically, the development goal can help you then achieve a new next code. You can perform work that you're not pre-qualified in under the development goal because you're being monitored by a prime. But we're not counting that toward our overall DBE goal that we're submitting to Federal Highway.
Okay, and at this time, we do not have any additional questions. And Julita, can people email questions to you afterward?
Absolutely. You can give me a call or send me an email and I'd be happy to clarify any of the information that I presented today. Or if you have specific questions about long-term development and if you're thinking about something specific and you're not sure if it will work, you can reach out to us about that too.
Great. And there is a question from Tracy. She says, how do I sign up for the monthly update?
Yep, so if you download the presentation, the handout, it's on the last page. You can click on this link, or you can just go to transportation.ohio.gov and in the search bar put in outreach. Once you get to the page in the middle of the screen, there is a place where you can choose what region you want to sign up for, and then you just put in your email address and your name and click submit, and you'll automatically be on the list. And I guess the one
Alrighty.
thing that I will mention is our capability statement website. If you've not heard of that, we've created a capability statement website where our certified firms can list their what they're pre-qualified in, and then also what they're interested in being developed in. So if you're not already on that page, you should go ahead and submit on that. If you need the link, just email me and I'll get that to you. And then we also encourage our primes to get out there and look through that list to see if there are different companies that are new that they've never worked with, could fit their needs.
Okay, well, we don't see any additional questions at this time. So thanks, Jalita, for presenting, and thanks everybody for your participation today.
Thanks, everyone.